Malika the African warrior queen, Shuri the Black Panther princess, all superheroes with afros, or even city girls following their dream are just an example of African women superheroes in animation and comics that is growing in popularity. On this episode of Our Voices, we will dive into the comic world where creators contribute to the richness and diversity of the medium through their art in ways that resonate with all races and genders. Hello, I am Jeannie Niwa, and I am joined today by my superhero co-host, Anastasie Tudies and Seminish Yekoye.
Hi, or should we say Wakanda or something?
Something like that.
You made us do that. You made us tell them.
We're all superheroes today. So, let's dive into it. Is comics and, this world, is that something that you're familiar with? Do you have like a African superhero that you look up growing up?
Well, I just have to be honest. I was never into comic growing up, like reading the books and all that. Probably I saw even the Western superheroes like the Spider-Man or Batman after they turned it into a movie. But I don't remember seeing any black character in any of those animations I watched until very recently, like the Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. But I think time is changing and we are seeing more and more of them, even the first Ethiopian superhero created in 2019. Her name is Hawi and she's a character whose mother is abducted and tries to save her. And, she is something inspiring for me right now to see and, for the future generation. So it's a very recent thing for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're new to that.
I'm very new to that.
I have never been very interested in it. The only comic character I can remember being interested in was Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Because of course the beauty, the power and whatnot, but I've never been into comics that much, so really doesn't do anything to me. No, I'm not.
Same thing for me. I would say comics is not something that, black in comics, that's not something that I grew up with. However, I don't know if you guys heard about Aya the Yupugon. You heard about Aya the Yupugon. So it's this city girl in, in Ivory Coast, and I think everything was made. When it came out, it was a boom. So
when was this? When you were a kid?
No, 10 years ago.
Okay.
So when I was a kid, black cartoon that I can remember.
So it's a recent thing.
Very recent. And, I think it worked because it stayed very authentic with African, culture in the city and everything that goes around it. She's a young girl with younger friends and, stories, of boyfriends and things like that in the animation. So it was
it's
something.
Great.
And I'm so happy that now it's growing in popularity.
Now, does your daughter like Aya de Yopougon?
No, because it was more like in French.
Okay.
But she has variety of,
Probably
black.
that's why I don't know her. It's in French.
Oh,
it's in
yes.
French. It's in English too.
It's in English
but
too. Okay.
It's not as advertised as it is in France.
Yeah.
So
but now,
that's the reason why we are having this show, to make sure that people know these characters and be inspired by them. Yeah.
Okay, well.
So it's growing in popularity, right? And that's what we're going to see now in this report.
That's right. In this original animated series from Africa that has made its debut on the Netflix streaming platform, the series, dubbed Super Team 4, was written by a young Zambian and takes place in a futuristic version of Zambia's capital, Lusaka. Kathy Short reports from Lusaka.
4 teenage girls who happen to be superheroes on a mission to save the world. That is the plot of the African animated series Super Team 4, now streaming on Netflix. Zambian writer and creator Malenga Mlendema told VOA that she loved watching cartoons as a child but never saw herself represented in any way. She says that with Super Team 4, she gets to see Africa, African characters, and Zambia's capital Lusaka on the screen.
So using, these fun, relatable characters, we tell stories that are full of action, lots of humor, some silliness, but lots of heart.
Mlendema enjoyed the collaboration that went into making an animated series.
Very cute, Temwe. I can't wait to buy them. I'm going to become amazing.
It was fun to know that we could move forward and incredible artists from around the world could come on board and then, just put everything together that we now see streaming on Netflix now.
Zambian voice actor Zowangwira portrays K Bongo, a teenage superhero who is passionate about science and education.
For me, my experience was, I think it was a mixture. It was a mixture of exciting. I was a bit nervous, you know, but most of all, I learned a lot from the experience.
Many film animators in Zambia are self-taught but lack technical support, says Akende Muyumbana. Despite the challenges, Akende Muyumbana, creative director at Utobia Studios in Lusaka, has persevered.
I think Super Team 4 had one of the best releases for animation in Africa, because genuinely there is a disparage between Africa and animation, with art in fact as a general whole, but they really did open a door for animation.
South Africa's Triggerfish Studios, which produced Super Team 4, is set to release other animation shows this year on the Netflix, Disney and Showmax Entertainment platforms. Triggerfish creative director Anthony Silverstone told VOA that 2023 has been a great year for African animation.
The medium of animation actually could employ so many different people across the range, from concept artists, writers, to lighting artists, to production people, to finance people. But then the other part, which is the kind of side that excites me, is just the fact that people actually get to see more African stories and more African people and more cultures from the diverse continent that we actually are.
Industry experts like Silverstone say that production of animated films and television is on the rise in Africa, and that talent is also in abundance. All that remains is for opportunities to open up for the continent's animators. Kathy Short for VOA News, Lusaka, Zambia.
Well, to expand more on the topic of comics, we have a full house of experts here with us. The first one is the award-winning filmmaker Roy Okupe, known for his animated short Malika Warrior Queen and Ianu the Chosen. He also serves as the CEO and founder of YouNeek Studios, based here in the nation's capital. Welcome, Roy.
Thank you for having me.
And first, congratulations on the release of your animated film for Ianu the Chosen, based on the book series, right?
Yes, it's not released yet, but it's in production, and hopefully soon people will get a chance to see it.
Yeah, and Ianu is a superhero teenage girl from Yoruba land who is on a mission to save the world on the brink of destruction at the hands of the corrupt, cursed wildlife and divine beasts determined to destroy humanity. So, Roy, what inspired Ianu?
So I grew up as a very young boy watching cartoons on TV, but I never really saw anything that took place in Lagos, Nigeria, or West Africa or Africa in general. So for me, it's always been a dream of mine that if I ever had the opportunity, I would create stories like the one I grew up with, like Spider-Man, X-Men, Batman, but do it from an African perspective for a global audience.
Mm-hmm. You mean being able to see your identity and yourself in the superheroes and
correct.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it's very, very important. I always try to tell people that entertainment doesn't just entertain; it actually educates people, whether you like it or not. So I think it's time for us as Africans to control more of the narrative about the stories that are out there about ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's what we missed growing up, right?
Yeah. Exactly. So you were saying that entertaining means educating. Entertaining means also lots of work.
Oh, yes.
And I'm not sure we realize that to get to such an album, it's hours and hours of work.
Yes.
But it all starts with passion. So
yes.
Who was your favorite character that made you want to do that?
This is going to sound very cliche, but my mom. She is my original superhero.
It's not cliche, it's excellent.
Yeah, exactly. But for me, my mom has always encouraged me. She raised me in the right way, and just growing up, see a strong African woman doing all the right things inspired me to create. Obviously, this Malika, for instance, is fantastical, but a lot of what you see in my books, I've taken from people close to me, my mom, my sisters, and now my lovely wife as well too.
Okay. That's why you went with sheroes, not heroes.
Yes, I do have male heroes, but I'm very, for me, it's important to also diversify what I'm doing in superhero genre by creating more African women and putting them in the spotlight.
Why
as well.
though?
I think, a lot of times, not a lot of times, but growing up, I didn't really see a lot of black women, being the stars. And I think for me, it's one thing that I've always wanted to change because, black women are awesome.
What role do you think comics play in shaping the perception of African culture in the continent and out of the continent?
I mean, I think comics, like any other form of entertainment, like I said, whether we like it or not, as a child, we are attracted to things like animation, comic books, video games. And a lot of time, that's your first exposure to the bigger world that's outside, and you learn about different cultures. I feel like if you have false narratives in animation or narratives that aren't necessarily told by the people that you're representing, it can set a stage where people, misunderstand culture or appropriate it in the wrong way. So I think for me, this type of storytelling is actually very important for the continent, and I would encourage more people who have the talents to do it because it gives us the opportunity to tell our stories our way for a global audience.
And how popular are these she-heroes or heroes you've done? How popular are they in Africa, in the continent, like Nigeria or other parts of?
Yeah, it's a growing popularity. We just recently announced that for the Iyanu animated series coming out, we have an all-Nigerian Nollywood cast for the voices.
Wow.
So we're going to have Nigerians talking like Nigerians in the show, which was very important. So we have people like Adesoy, Tommy Wellington, Shafi Bello, Blossom Chukudriku, a lot of big stars in Nollywood who have decided to lend their voices. So yeah, there's a lot of excitement about this type of thing.
And then when they turn into film, it will expose it even more and reach more audience.
Yeah, film is more expensive, but hopefully we'll get there.
About that,
yes.
Why do you think we haven't seen things like this earlier?
I mean, it's a very complicated thing because obviously, Hollywood is Hollywood, and Hollywood has had a lot more time to develop into what it is now. If you look at industries like Nollywood, for instance, right, it hasn't been around for as long. So I think for us, it's just time and also taking control of the narrative and also getting global supports like we're seeing now with like Afrobeats. Like you're going to start seeing just how big the music is. I think this is the next thing from Africa that people are going to start enjoying.
And the music will be a very interesting part of the
yes. Yes.
Like I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah. So what will be your advice or tip to, young creators like yourself, especially in the continent?
Yeah, very good question.
I think for me, one of the things that I would like to say to people is that you have to believe in yourself. I think, again, it sounds easy, but it's not because you don't, right now in our culture, it's not something you see everywhere where people are working on stuff like this. So to think that I can do it as well is a very difficult thing. But if I had any messages, believe in yourself and one day it'll happen for you.
Just real quick, this is fiction. Do you impose yourself some limits when it comes to stereotypes and, things like that, so you can keep like a right image maybe of Africa?
Of course. I try to stay away from, stereotypes that I feel like for a long time have existed about the portrayal of Africa, like, poverty and corruption. It's not like these things don't exist, but it doesn't paint a full picture of what we Africans are about. So for me, it's about painting a full tapestry where you get to see the good, the bad, and really telling people the truth, because Africa has just a wealth of like inspiring stories from history and the culture and the mythology, and a lot of those things I actually integrate into my characters as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a great pleasure having you. Definitely.
As you can see, I was inspired. Well, we have to say goodbye to our award-winning filmmaker, Roy Okupe, known for his animated short, Malika Warrior Queen, and Iyanu the Chosen, produced by his company, founded YouNeek Studios. It was a pleasure for you to join us today. It was a pleasure for us, of course. We'll have to take a pause right now, but more is yet to come. We would love to hear from you on this. So connect with us on our social media platform at VOA Africa. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Please use hashtag VOA Our Voices. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
times of change, when the world seems uncertain, and what we hear doesn't reflect what we see, we seek the truth. When we are told only part of the story, we lose trust. In moments of crisis, our dreams, hopes, and wishes for a better tomorrow depends on a free press. At Voice of America, we bring you the stories that people take risks to see. We connect the world and unite it with truth. At Voice of America, we show you the whole picture.
Health, wellness, sport, beauty, medical breakthroughs. Healthy Living cares about your well-being. What are the main health concerns in Africa and around the world? Find out the latest on coronavirus. Connect with our experts and ask them questions.
How long does the virus stay?
Join me, Linor Moudou, in Washington, every week on Healthy Living, right here on VOA.
You're watching VOA's Red Carpet. My name is Jackson Vunganye. Thank you so much for joining us each week right here on Red Carpet. We bring you the latest in
Culture convention that celebrates the excellence of Black, Indigenous, and people of color creators across the media of comics, books, film, visual arts, and more. Miss Murphy, welcome to our Voices with these amazing books, characters you created.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Of course, it's a great pleasure. And in your book, In the Garden of Light and Shadow, The Chronicles of Ada St. James, you wrote, I will quote, as a member of the Sisters of Light, Lilavoie St. James swore an oath to use the magic of the moon to battle the demons and defend humankind. Until one day she met a demon and fell in love. And I was born. My name is Ada St. James, and these are the chronicles of how I came to be and the destiny that awaits me.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness, how do you create these stories? How do you come up with these ideas?
I think I have a clue, if I might. In the foreword of the book, you very kindly brought us and gifted us. There is this sentence, it starts like that. Several of the stories in this collection came to me 2 years ago or more. I first dreamt the story for First Blood 10 years ago.
Wow, is
but
that
they
true?
all came to fruition between the latter part of 2019 and 2020, and that is significant.
Is that how you come up with the ideas?
It is. I dream the stories.
Oh, wow.
And you carry them for years?
Yes. Well, first I dream them, and then I get up and I have notebooks everywhere. So I write down, because if I try to remember it forever, it won't work.
Go,
yeah. So I write things down, and then as they come to me and as I sit with them, they emerge. And then as I get time, I have 2 kids, busy life and all of that. Each story has its own time. And so some stories like First Blood I had to sit with for 10 years. And then other stories like The Chronicles of Ada St. James came to me about 2 years ago. And I knew I had to get it out. But I was working on another book, so I had to wait.
When it comes to you write it down, yes. Or when you wake up from your dream, you just write it down?
Yes,
wow.
In the dark, I'll write notes.
Okay. And how do you connect them with African culture or history or Black women? How do you your dream and how the reality, how do you connect them?
I'm dreaming of Black women. I'm dreaming of the excellence of our history and our culture.
Wow.
So it's not even something that I have to make an effort to bring forth. I mean, our culture, our people are the example that I follow. They're my superheroes in real life. We slay dragons every day, big and small. We just don't call them that. We call them bills. We call them, PTA meetings. We call them,
if I may,
difficult relationships.
Another excerpt from the book, page 88. In Between the Two Seas, you say, a black woman's life is hard, it's true, but because this society has given them no place, they have been forced to define themselves, and in doing so have acquired the skills necessary to thrive on their own terms. There is power in that, Mr. James, don't you find?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I didn't mention you also have a background in being a social worker.
Yes.
I'm assuming that came, after that experience, all those dreams and thoughts.
No, I grew up never wanting to be a writer. I'm a reader. Okay. I love to read a good book. And even more, now that I'm a writer, I love to read a good book I didn't have to write. It was like a gift. Social work and international development came because of the neighborhood I grew up in. I grew up in DC at a time when it was the murder capital of the world and the crack capital of the world. But my parents chose the neighborhood that I grew in and the house I grew up in. And they said, if you want to make your community better, you can't leave. You have to stay and make it better. And so it was a place I was really inspired by. And that's how I came to social work and international development and all those things.
Fantastic. So, Simonish, we're mentioning Africa. Let's hear from people on the continent and get their views on women superheroes. In Your Voice segment, we hear from people on the streets of capital city of Kampala, Uganda. Reporter Mugume Davisi Rwakaringi spoke with entertainment lawyer Sentongo Abel, comedian, actor, and artist Gerald Lutaro, another artist, Fina Mugerwa, and last but not least, Zubida Biantolo. Take a listen.
My name is Sentongo Ebo, an entertainment lawyer in Uganda, East Africa. Women have taken the center focus in the comic industry because of inspiration of successful women in the industry. Inspiration from women in leadership positions in the country has also pushed other women to also do something and be so prominent like others. The women emancipation drive that has been worldwide and globally funded by the different governmental bodies has also fostered women to come on center point of the comic industry.
My name is Gerald Rotaro. I'm an artist with Fan Factory Uganda. In regards to your question, being me as an artist, I see that the female side of us human beings sells. That female sexuality, as women, they sell on their own. So let it be musical, let it be arts, film, a woman will go and take center stage. And in this day and era, I think they're more powerful than us now.
African women are taking over in comic because we have realized the beauty of African culture. African culture is a unique product. We are a unique product. We've been seeing a lot of people coming on top, but when you look at the African woman, you see a different, unique product. Actually, they are like flowers. When you look at an African woman, you just don't want to look aside again. So that is why, we are pushing to be on top, but then even the brand, the unique brand is pushing us because we have a unique product.
I think African female are becoming more in the film industry because they are determined and we are competitive. When you see the years back, men were too much in the film industry and they were too competitive. You were saying he's a director, he's a writer, he's the main character, and female were left behind. So when we joined with love and passion. We have that passion and we are determined when we do something, we do it with passion.
Thanks to our Ugandan reporter Mugume Davisi Rwakiringi. Now that what are some I'm sorry. I just want to go back to what this gentleman said. Do women sell?
Absolutely. Is that why we create them?
Well, Yes, women sell, but also women hold a lot of the purchasing power across the world. And we need to see ourselves reflected. We deserve to see ourselves reflected as powerfully and wonderfully as we are.
We
they
do.
sell and buy.
That's right.
Yes, they are both ends.
So just quickly, you also founded the Virtuous Con. Why is that, and what do you do with that?
It's an online sci-fi convention celebrating Black excellence in comics, books, anything that you can think of in fantasy, horror. And I created it to celebrate and elevate wonderful stories about Black and brown people across the world, because so often you get a mad, bad, sad narrative, and that is not our history, and that's not half of who we are.
Don't you feel like she deserves a round of applause? Yes.
We really had amazing guests and creators, and I hope they inspire young people watching us are now inspired to see themselves in these books and characters.
For sure. Thank you for your work. And that is our show for this week. A very special thank you to our guest who joined us at our Voices table today, award-winning author and founder of Virtuous Con, Ms. Cerece Rennie Murphy, and award-winning filmmaker Roy Okupe, founder and CEO of YouNeek Studios. You can rewatch this episode and the previous ones on the VOA website, voaafrica.com, or on our YouTube channel. This has been Our Voices. Thank you for tuning in. Please continue to be a light for yourself and others. And remember, we all have superpowers. Until next time, shine on. Cheers.